learners, welcome to SWAYAM online lecture series on the topic database management system. Myself, Mohammad Bukhari, working as a professor in the Department of Computer Science, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. I am pleased to see you here. Today, we will discuss about the access control, encryption and auditing. Till now, I have discussed about the data security and how you will make a data secure, role-based actions, attribute-based actions. So here today, so get ready to understand and improve the performance for database management. In the previous lecture, I have discussed role-based access control, types of access control, advantage of role-based access control, and what are the disadvantages of role-based access control. It means depending on the role-based, access will be given to a system. Unauthorized persons are not able to retrieve informations. So in an organization, there are some administrator, the manager and the employee. The employee given access to retrieve information from himself, he cannot update, delete, whatever. The manager can only see, access the data of the own department, but the administrator he can retrieve all the information of the organization, all the sensitive data. He may update, delete, whatever. So I have discussed about the advantage, also disadvantage role-based system. Also we have discussed about role-based access system and attribute-based system also versus I have given that. Then also I have how you will implement the role-based access control in your organization, because many organization uses a role-based access control. Before going to today's agenda, I would like to give answer of the question which I have asked in the previous lecture. The first question was, explain the role-based access control. Role-based access control is a security model in database management system where data permission are granted to users based on their role within an organization. Users are assigned roles that corresponding to their job responsibilities, and access rights are predefined for each role. This simplifies access management by granting permission to role rather than individual users, enhancing security and scalability. The next question was, what are the types of access control? In database management system, access control mechanisms regulate how users interact with data and users. In database management system, access control mechanisms regulate how users interact with data and resources. Discretionary access control allows users to control access to their own resources, while mandatory access control imposes strict security policies set by administrator. Role-based access control grant permission based on user's role, and attribute-based access control makes access decision based on user's attributes and resource characteristics. These access control model provides different level of flexibility and security to manage data access effectively in diverse environment. What are the advantages of role-based access? Role-based access control offers several advantages in database management system, including simplified access management, improved security, enhanced scalability. By granting permission based on the user's role, RBCA streamlines access control administrations and reduces the risk of error. RBCA also enhances security by enforcing the principle of least privilege, ensuring that users only have access to resources necessary for their roles, thereby reducing potential security vulnerabilities. Of today's discussion is to first we'll discuss about the introduction, the access control, encryptions, auditing, and practical implementation. We have to discuss about the introduction. We'll explain in the next slide. We'll discuss about the introductions and the access control. The authorized person can access to whom will give a privilege or permission to access the systems. The encryption, it means you have to protect the sensitive data by using encryptions. Here in the encryption is there a plain text and there are some keys are there by algorithms, encryption algorithms. You can say you have to decrypt the data, and that decrypted data will be safe to theft. It means authorized person cannot read if he knows the keys for the different encryptions. If you are sending online, whatever, there are different types of ciphering, stream cipher, block ciphers, or there are very good topics are that. So by that encryptions play a very vital for securing a sensitive data. And then auditing also is very important. You have to audit, you have to logs of all the of the users, which user have used which system and which time, like that, and practical implementation also available. So come to one by one. Introductions. So on the screen you can see that this is the organization, how this is the introduction about the world, and we are able to save the data from unauthorized users. As organization increases digital system to store and manage sensitive information, the need to robust security measures become crucial. So we have to develop a very robust security systems. We have to build them so that we are able to save the sensitive informations, because these are the digital worlds. Access control, encryptions, and auditing are the key components of comprehensive security strategies aimed to protecting sensitive data from unauthorized access, disclosure, or tampering. Someone will tamper the data, disclosure, they can theft the data. So unauthorized access is very important. Authorized person cannot access. So depending on the role of the person, you have to give a permission. You have to get some minimum permission to the users so that we are able to that. So access control, encryption, auditing are the components of the comprehensive security strategy. Come to the what is access control? Access control are mechanisms that regulate who can access specific resources or perform certain action within a system. They enforce the principle of least privilege, ensuring that the users only have access to the information and functionalities necessary for their roles. Depending on the roles, they have given a minimum access. Access control can be implemented through user authentications, authorization, and accountability mechanism. I've taken one example, it will be very easier to understand. Consider an employee management system where administrator, manager, and regular employee have different level of access. It means we have to develop, suppose in a employee management system, there we have taken there should be one administrator, we have one manager, and regular employee, it may be temporary, whatever, but depending on that, they have a different level of access. Administrator have full access to all employee data, but the employee have not access to all the employee. Only he can have access only their own information. The employee, regular employee, can only read his own information. He cannot given permission to read other information. But the administrator can see the information about all the employee. He may update, delete, whatever. The manager have access to their department data. Only the department data he has a control for that. This is a very good example for that. I hope you are able to understand. Then the next is encryption. Already I have explained. Encryption is the process of encoding data in such a way that only authorized party can access and decipher. If the some person he has the key, the you can say destination place, the person who is retrieving data at that time, he has to know the you can say the key. There are different types of keys, public key, private key. So then it protects data confidentiality. So it will use for protection. So it means it protects data confidentiality by scrambling plain text into cipher using cryptographic algorithm and keys. If encryption can be applied to data at rest, stored data, and data in transition over the networks. So there are two types: online data, offline. You can say block cipher or stream cipher for that. The example, I have taken one example, you can see on the screen. Storing sensitive customer information in database, data can be encrypted using by encryption algorithm. Already there are different types of algorithm as advanced encryption standard. Also, I have given a concept in 2003 in Qualcomm company. What we are talking, this is not secure online, the mobile. So at that time, I have given project to Qualcomm company with the collaboration of Macquarie University. My project accepted. I have worked with that program. I have developed a Bukhari stream cipher and BSF 128-bit, which was a patent in Australia also. I have worked in with the Qualcomm. I have worked with the Qualcomm company in Australia also. So at that time, I have developed my work is already patent. So you have to encrypt by AC, advanced encryption technique, because this all the techniques are not standard. So you have to find the entropy, and the keys you have to make it so complex that the if person, unauthorized person, cannot theft your keys, they are not able to find the original sensitive data. If they are able to retrieve at that time, the value of information will become useless. It means this ensure that even if the database is compromised, the data remain unreadable without the decryption key. The next you can see auditing. So this is a very good, I have given diagrammatic representation. Auditing involves monitoring and recording events related to data access. You have to modify. So who will modify? Who use this system? So you have to record of the events. It provides a trail of accountability, allowing organization to track who access what data, when they access the data, what data, and for what purpose. There are three things: what, when, and for what purpose you are able to audit that. You have to record for that. What data they have used, when they have used, and what purpose was used. Auditing helps detect and investigate security incidents, compliance violations, and unauthorized activities. If some unauthorized person did some activity, so by that auditing, we are able to understand, we are able to recognize the unauthorized person, and we can take the action also. If some accident will come, security accident will come, then at that time, so the breach, so at that time we are auditing play a very vital role. In example, in healthcare organization, audit logs are maintained to record every access attempt to patient medical records. The logs capture details such as the users who access the records, date, and the timing of access, and the action performed. This enables administrator to identify any unauthorized access attempt and take appropriate action. So auditing also a very important part for that. So I'm taking one example of practical example of implementing access control. Access control can be implemented in various ways depending on the system and the requirements. Let's consider a practical example of implementing access control in web-based application using role-based access control. Take the example. Imagine we have an online banking system, and in this era, everyone has using online banking system where user can access their account, transfer the fund, and view transactions. Only the application, the only you can say in online banking, the users only access their account, transfer fund, and the view transaction history only. We want to implement access control to ensure that only authorized user can perform a specific action within the applications. So here on the role based, you can for the manager also you can apply for the role based control here. So these are very good example in the banking system and in the real life example. I hope you are able to understand how you will implement access control. So for that, there are some steps, implementation step I have. First of all, you identify user's role. First step to identify user's role. Determine the different role that user can have within the applications. Common role in banking application might include customer, bank employee, and administrator. So there are a common role. It may be bank employee, it may be customer, it may be administrator. Then you have to define the access permissions. Next step to define. Specify the action or functionalities that each role is allowed to perform. On the screen, you can say the example. Customer can view account balance, transaction history, transfer fund between their own account. Bank employee can perform customer account management tasks such as updating accounts information and processing transaction. So bank employee can do that. You have to permission to given. Bank employee can perform customer account management task. He can update the sometime the address will be changed, sometime for that version updated. And then administrator have a full access of all the features, including users, management and system configuration also. He has the access to system configuration and the users management also. He has all features including. So in the second step, you have to define the access permission. In the third step, then you have to implement role-based access control. You have to develop a mechanism to enforce access role based on user's role. This can be achieved. There are three steps you have to do. First, you have to do authentication, authorization, then session management. There are three steps you have to follow to achieve to implement a role-based access control. The first is authentication. Authenticate users upon login to verify their identity. So for that you have to give a login password. Sometimes you have to give the no token that okay, when you will open the account, it will come on your screen like that, and then you have to verify it. Okay, you are the genuine, then it will open like that. Then fingerprints, so authentication, then authorization. Based on the authenticated user's role, restrict access to specific functionalities or resources. On the basis of role authentication, will give the that the user can access the particular system or resources he can avail. And the third step is to session management. Maintain user session and check permission on each request to ensure authorized access. On each request, you have to ensure the authorized access. Example of implementation. In the web application code, implement middleware or filters to check the user's role before allowing access to certain routes or APIs. Use database to store users' role and permissions. Create table for roles, permissions, and role permission mappings. In the previous lecture, I have given you have to make a create tables for roles. Okay, to whom it will be given. I have already explained like that. Read a writer. Suppose the writer only he can update, he can delete, update, modify, and see. But reader only can read, he cannot update and he cannot delete whatever. So these are you have to make a tabular form for that. When user log in, retrieve their roles from the database and store it in the user session or token. On each request, validate the user session token and check if they have a necessary permission to access the request functionality. And then every request you have to check the validate the authenticity of the users. So they are the 4 steps you have to follow for implementation also. This is the particular example. Suppose a bank employee, role is bank employee wants to view a customer transaction history. The access control mechanism will be authenticate the bank employee upon login. So first of all, a bank employee can log in and enter the password. Retrieve the bank employee's role from the database. Check if the role allows access to view transaction history. Then check if it is allowed. Then, if authorized, fetch and display the transaction history for the specified customer. If it is unauthorized, so it will be denied and it will not display the transaction history of the specified customer. By implementing access control in this manner, the application ensures that only authorized users can access sensitive functionalities, enhancing security and protecting sensitive data from unauthorized access. Understanding by giving some thought-provoking questions. I hope your answer will not reinforce I hope your answer will not reinforce your understanding but also explain the understanding of the lectures. So the first question is explain the role of access control in safeguarding sensitive information. Provide examples of how different types of access control, such as role-based access control and mandatory access control, contribute to preventing unauthorized access. The next question discuss the significance of encryption in securing sensitive information. Provide examples of where encryption is commonly applied and explain how it is helpful, how it and explain how it helps protect data integrity and confidentiality. The next question, how does auditing contributes to overall security of sensitive information? Provide example of all types of auditing such as system logs and database auditing and explain how they help in identifying security breaches. The last question is explain the concept of layered approach to data security and how access controls, encryption, and auditing can be integrated to create the comprehensive strategies. Provide examples of how this integration enhances the overall protection of sensitive information. I hope this exploration you will enjoy it. Thank you for your active participation. Wish you a wonderful day ahead.